how are you guys? Like genuinely, we coming off this crazy year. Like, how are you? How's your spirit? How's you guys' mental? How are you genuinely? We want an honest answer. How are y'all?
We're great. No, we're perfect. You want to go first?
Yeah, I would say that we are maintaining.
Oh, speak for yourself, Chea.
Okay, well, I'll say that, and I say that because there obviously there's been a lot of changes, obviously, from pandemic to us relocating temporarily during the pandemic back to our home in Ohio, and then just all of the changes that happen with life because of it. So people are staying home. Some people are not having their kids in school, and then there's just the whole idea about mistrust of information, all of the information that's out there around COVID, around vaccines, around just everything. So I would say that we're maintaining, giving all things considered.
He's maintaining, giving all things considered.
What about you, Ashley?
Well, I would say I'm just okay. I feel like I'm teetering the line of like gratitude and reality, where you're consistently reminding yourself daily of the things that are good in your life, but equally overwhelmed by the reality of just life. I think it's different for me in Chea just because I'm Black and I feel overwhelmed every single day. Like Instagram really can be a beautiful thing, but I still feel like I was like overexposed a little during the pandemic. It was a little too much to the point where I had to start unfollowing certain people and just not getting on my phone at certain times. I was like dealing with a lot of anxiety. I've always had really bad anxiety. I'm an empath, but then I was reading this thing that my psychiatrist sent me talking about how empaths are really just people with unresolved childhood trauma. So now I'm all like, I don't even like saying I'm an empath anymore because like, these are just feelings that haven't been dealt with. But I think that's just what it is. Like I've always been a deep feeler and I get overwhelmed very easily when I see things happen to other people. I just take on their feelings and it's really hard for me to like release it. So it's just hard to be happy like within your home. I felt like during the pandemic, like my book sold out 3 times and it was so amazing. I felt so guilty. I was like, why is like something so amazing happening to me right now? People are losing their jobs and losing their homes and losing their lives. So then I felt like I couldn't even enjoy it because I felt guilty about being happy. Yeah. So I think that's a consistent state that I'm always in, just trying to find joy, but equally overwhelmed by the reality of life.
Yeah, yeah. How are you? See, how are you?
Today I feel pretty good, and I think it varies for sure. I think over the past year, I've been a lot of different places. I echo the sentiments of what's been shared, and then also like having a baby, so I'm starting to feel like myself again after a year. Mm. But I've been a lot of different places and trying to figure out what's what, but then really just trying to be like present and stay in this place of like gratitude as well.
Right.
Yeah, again, man, it's so interesting, man, because we're coming off of this historical year, nobody has seen anything like what we just experienced in the pandemic, like, and granted, we're still currently in the pandemic, you know what I'm saying? It's still very much full go, even though we live in a state, y'all originally from a state where the mask they just uplifted the mask requirements, or the mask restriction today. But even with that, we're still currently in the pandemic, so it's still, it's still ongoing crazy. But for you two specifically, like, what did you guys learn about yourselves individually and as a couple in the year 2020? It was crazy pandemic year, a lot of death, a lot of transition. What did you guys learn about yourselves and about each other?
I'll go first. I feel like for me, I learned something that I already knew. So I would like to say I was reaffirmed in my belief. I didn't grow up with a lot of finance. I hate to say like I grew up poor because that just insinuates to me in people's mind lacking in all things. And that wasn't true. We just didn't have money, but my mom was like really intentional on how she raised us. And so to me, I grew up with a clear understanding of how important family is and how important like love is and like the things that really matter and how money can enhance these things and make them easier for you. But the reality of life is that we live and then we die, and that's it. And the only people who are going to be sad are the people that really care about you. So even when my sister passed away when I was 22, she was 24, I realized that. So I think for me, I've never been big on things and having a lot of like material things. It's always been about time spent, quality time with one another. And I feel like me and Chea are kind of Velcro. Like I just could be with, I never get tired of being with him. And I know it's weird to some people, but I literally could be with him every single day. As long as I know he's in the next room, I'm happy. Like we don't even have to do anything. And I've always felt that way. And I feel like during the pandemic, it was like reaffirmed in my spirit, like, you know what, the world is on fire and shit is crazy, but I'm here with my husband and my kids and I feel complete joy and peace. Like
Yeah.
that's all I need. So for me, I feel like that sentiment was really reaffirmed for me, and it made me feel good to know that like my mind was in the right place.
Yeah.
You know, and how I've always felt was like, okay, like this is going to be okay no matter whatever happens in our life. Like me and him, as long as we're good and our kids are healthy, like I can find like complete joy in that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you gave it the better explanation than I did originally, where, I said that we're maintaining.
Yeah.
And I say that because we didn't suffer like losses within our immediate family of family members or friends or anything of that nature. And did suffer the loss of family members. And, gratitude, I think, is the better word that I should have used. But, when I look at what we learned during this like past 2020 and then even into 2021, it really wasn't, like you said, anything new. It was just further confirmation of, look, we've been living a life very on the edge from the time that our relationship started, from dating long distance to, being young parents to then, having a young child, but then also trying to grow our bond together as like man and woman, and then eventually getting married and moving. And then we moved again. Like every single year that we've been in California, we've been moving. And with that, have come career changes, have come, additional children. And it's like the pandemic changed things for a lot of people. But to your point, we've always been in the other room from each other. Like for the most part, I've always worked from home or, had the ability to basically not be in an office. So, us being around each other didn't create tension in our relationship. It just, created more of what we were familiar with. Same thing, even with, parenting and schooling our children. Amir, our oldest, has always been homeschooled. The two younger girls, we have started them on kind of like their early learning homeschooling program as well. So like we didn't suffer that huge turmoil and change that a lot of families did. And, I think that that's why I kind of looked at it as like, listen, we've been maintaining because this is what we've been doing.
Now it makes sense. Bringing it home.
Yeah. So maintaining isn't always a good thing, but it definitely surely isn't bad either, right? So gratitude is just the positive spin on all of it.
Yeah, man, that's good, man. That's powerful. You talking about, affirming how you guys are already living. Like, that's a perspective that you don't hear a lot of people speak on. You know what I'm saying? That means you guys had a solid foundation. Literally in the midst of tragedy, in the midst of just chaos, y'all was solid.
Yeah, and you know what's crazy is like
we were born out of chaos. Our relationship was born of chaos.
Yeah, it really was.
That's probably why we were just like good in chaos. Like, oh, okay, we can do this.
And it's funny too because like I've always been big on Reddit, from back in the day, and like I felt like I was telling Ashley about coronavirus way before any like news and media started covering it. So it's just funny because even as like that first wave kind of went by and the lockdown started easing a little bit in China, and then like the news came out and they were reporting, look, we're seeing exponentially higher divorce rates amongst the Chinese population because everyone was forced to be insulated in their home. They were isolated from depression, money issues. Like you couldn't hide from anything during the workday.
Yeah.
And for us, that's why I say it was like, this is more of the same for us.
But can I just say, Chea really did tell me about COVID before it was ever on the news. Like in January, he purchased this life kit. There was like a survival kit, like for like the apocalypse. And he was like, listen, there's a virus going around in China. And he was like, and this doctor came out and talked about it. And then he mysteriously died. Like he's telling me all of this stuff. And it just sounds crazy, like a bunch of craziness. And I'm like, okay, Chea. Then he like out of nowhere on Amazon, we get these packages of like survival kits. And I'm like, what is happening right now?
What was in the survival kit?
Listen, the weirdest shit, nothing that you can survive with, okay?
Listen,
not a gun, not a knife, not no dry food, like nail clippers, no poncho.
That is hilarious. Yeah, that's big. That's big Y2K.
Yeah, it's like you're not surviving with this. Like, has anybody ever seen The Walking Dead? Like, this is not. What are you gonna do with a poncho? Like, no, I need like a gun.
At least have like a portable charger. Like, you know what I'm saying?
No, that was not. That was a survival kit for a rainstorm. But either way, it was fine. But it's just interesting that he did, because we were literally already planning to go to Ohio. He was like, this is going to hit America. Watch. We need to start planning. I'm like, I really thought he was crazy.
Make me sound crazy.
You are, but he was right. He was right though. So it worked out.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. I mean, but it's so important to hear that perspective. I mean, because for us, we had so much happen in 2020. First and foremost, we had our first child at the literally a week and a half before the shutdown happened. We had our first kid. So like here we are having our kid. We go home 3 days later, nobody get in the hospitals. Like it was craziness. It was chaotic. My mother transitioned 3 months after we had, our son. And that in itself was just like, you can't really compare that to anything. So here we are trying to like celebrate and be, in this joyous time. And then, death happens. You know what I'm saying? There's no way to prepare for death as it is. But in the midst of a pandemic, your child being born, you lose a parent, emotions are all over the place. So for us, I can kind of echo that sentiment a little bit as well. Like I don't want to say that we came together, but our foundation became even more solidified. Like, one thing that I pride myself on is that I really like my woman. Like, you know what I'm saying? I like her as an individual.
I like her too.
You know what I'm saying? So like in the midst of us getting on each other's nerves, I still love being around her. I still love, working through stuff with her. You know what I'm saying? Because she's my friend. I respect her. So we are able to kind of like build off of what we've already had. But it still was chaotic, and I'm sure you could speak to it even a little bit different, being a first time mother, and how being at home all the time, what I'm saying, with our kid, and how much that was just like that was difficult. I'm sure for you, different than how I experienced it.
I like being at home a whole lot. I do like being at home. But yeah, and I don't even know if I think it was just so much going on, and I think it's more so just how all those things interface in the relationship between those things, like the stuff in the world, and then how we consume that. I think that the toll that takes, and it took on me in relationship to everything that was going on personally, can just be a lot to sort through at times, I think. And then my body was doing all kind of like crazy stuff on top of that. So it's like, what's my body? What's this? And just being okay and like normalizing that all of those things were interfacing and in relationship at the same time, and not trying to like put it in some category of like, this is this or this is that, but just being okay with everything that was going on. And I think for sure our relationship and the foundation that we established and like continue to cultivate, I think that all of that like kept me grounded and well overall. So yeah, but I mean, I do think it's interesting too, like you all like joke about being kind of like in chaos, like coming from chaos, but being used to it. But you all are very intentional. And so I just want to know if you can speak a little bit about that. You joke about it, but you are very like intentional in how you all parent and how you're in relationship and how you live. And so coming from chaos, making a decision to say like, this is how we're going to like do things for us. If you could speak a little bit to that.
Do you want to go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think that I'm weird. My friend just told me today that she read somewhere that people that have 3 daughters are witches. I don't know if that's true or not, but
Come on, man. Come on, man.
it's very serious. She said, "No, that sounds like Ashley. Sounds like a witch."
That is crazy, man.
But I do think I was a witch or something in my past life, so it makes sense. But because of that, I was even born in chaos. Like I'm a cheater baby. So I think that my natural instinct is to just survive amongst chaos and just create joy. And also, I didn't even know that about myself. So it's like because my mom and father had such a beautiful relationship and friendship, they created so much joy around my childhood. I never knew the circumstances of my birth. I think that's why I am intentional about the way I raise my children, because my parents were very intentional about the way they raised us. Like, I had no idea any of the drama my mom, dad, and stepmom went through growing up at all. Like, I thought we were the Brady Bunch. Everybody was cool, you know, and then when I got older, they started telling us stories and stuff. And I'm like, that is wild. Like, that never resonated with any of us because we didn't feel that. So I think I learned from my parents to be intentional with how you address people, how you talk to them, the love you give. And even with Chea and I honestly feel like when my sister died, that's just when I learned everything. I think you really start to have full clarity of like what really matters. And I've always just walked through life that way about anything. So I don't hold on to what's happening around me because I know everything is temporary. And I really try to just be like, okay, like shit's not working out right now, or we don't have a lot of money right now, or I'm tired right now, but it's just right now. And I know that it's just right now. So I think that's why I'm the way I am, because I just have intention and understand that everything is temporary, joy and pain. And I tried my hardest not to hold on to it and allow that to affect the way I love my kids or interact with people. Even in my relationships with my friendships, when people piss me off, I know that I'm not gonna be mad at them forever. I'm probably smarter than them. They don't get it. And so I'm gonna forgive them. One day they'll learn and come back and apologize.
On the road.
I think, you know, I realized, and I've always tried to like put the pieces together because I lived in my father's household. So my parents divorced when when I was like 5 years old. So I don't really remember, honestly, too much of my mother and father being in the same household. But I lived with my father and, you know, would visit my mother during the weekends and things of that nature. But, you know, my dad isn't the most communicative person. So it's funny because I didn't even know why my parents divorced until Ashley asked them like maybe 10 years ago, like somewhere between 5 to 10 years ago. I just knew they divorced and I was like, cool, like it is what it is. You're not together. But like as I've tried to piece things together, I think one of the biggest reasons why I've experienced some of the things that I did is because my dad pushed me so hard in the academics and he prepped me on the academic side of things because in his mind, you know, he immigrated from Cambodia during the Vietnam War. He came here as an Air Force jet engine mechanic. So as he was getting his training here, like in his mind, that's all he knows, just like a lot of immigrant families where, you know, education is the most important piece that allows you to uplift and to change your circumstances. In addition to that, everything else is hard work. So anything that comes in between education and hard work, it doesn't matter to my father, right? But with how much he prepped me for the academic side, that allowed me to excel in school, but it also made it easier where as I'm living in life, like I was able to just observe a lot more. So, you know, I would finish school super, super quick. And then the rest of the day when he's at work, you know, working third shift, like I'm out and around the neighborhood. Like I'm with friends, I'm with different families, like, you know, just really living and learning and experiencing things on that front of things. And I think that that's what allowed me to figure out what works and what doesn't work from from a relationship, from a family standpoint, individually, and then, not to like toot her horn too much.
Oh, toot it, baby, toot it.
She'll do it all day. But, honestly, Ashley is, beyond having a great partner, like she's such a great person where her ability to understand and see things for other people and helping them kind of maneuver and like learn and grow her ability is uncanny. Like I don't know anyone that has this skill set as honed in as she does. So, I mean, she's made me grow tremendously.
Oh.
Yeah.
But
because I'm a witch.
She put a spell on you.
She put a spell on you, bruh.
She did. She did. But one thing that I'll say is that as much as, she wanted to say, look, I realize in this moment I'm tired, but it's just right now, or, I want more money, but it's just right now. She understands the moments of things, but that doesn't mean that she doesn't seek out every single pleasure and positive thing that she can pull from this moment, right? Yeah. So it'll be like, listen, I know we need to get a house and we're saving money, right? But we can't live and just save money. We have to live. Let's go on a vacation. Let's go here. Right. I'm like, but what about this? You know what I mean? So, like I don't know if we'll get into it, but financials have been something that, we have grown together with because we definitely had different upbringings with it, and also just different ways that we like to manage money. And no one way is better than the other.
No, your way is definitely better. If we lived off of that, we would be poor.
but it's also like figuring out how do we make this work for us.